This is my Magicka Nightblade build for the Deadlands DLC. The Magicka Nightblade is a really fun, rewarding class to play, but it does have quite a steep learning curve with the necessity to hit all your light attacks in order to maximise your damage. They're really popular in content, and like I say, a really fun class to play. So we're going to look at how to maximise our damage on the parsing dummy with a static rotation that hits 105k and over. We're going to look at the gear sets and the skills we use, as well as some skill bars that we can use in alternative content as well, such as Cloud Rest and Asylum Sanctorum and things like that. So in this particular instance, I've picked High Elf. You could pick Dark Elf and Khajiit as well, but with Khajiit, you'd have to bear in mind the crit damage cap. With our Inferno staff, we've got 73.8% spell critical, just shy of 5.5k spell damage, and 2,295 Magicka recovery. Really strong. It's going to really let us keep our pBahsei proccing highly. We're using the Sustain by Suffering Vampire Bite Cheese and the Thief Wonderstone to maximise our crit rating. Now, if we swap out the daggers, because with one of the setups we will be using daggers instead of the Inferno staff, let's quickly tap that again. We'll see that we do get a higher crit rating slightly, up to 74, and a lot more spell damage, up to 6,178. So we are going to hit harder with the daggers than we would with the Inferno staff. So let's take a look at some gear setups. So the one I'm going to be wearing here is the one that I'd use on the dummy, but there are different setups available. So we've got the kinras daggers, Nirnhoden Charged, Flame and Poison enchants. All of the enchants does not matter as long as they're both there, but Nirnhoden needs to be in your main hand. If you're using an Inferno, make that precise with a poison damage enchant on it for the dummy, or a flame damage enchant in content. Maelstrom Inferno backbar doesn't have to be perfected, but does need to be infused with a weapon damage and spell damage enchant on it. This is for keeping up our buff from the unstable elements wall, and infused to keep that enchant running. Light slimecraw helmet with the Magicka enchant in Divines for that unique 771 critical chance. You can put medium here, but on the dummy I found I did better in 6 light. Perfect pBahsei on the body in Divines with Matt's Magicka enchant. Ultimate set at the minute for Magicka, absolute best in slot, and with the Harpooner's Wading Kilt as well to buff our crit damage. We've then got kinras on the jewellery as well, with spell damage enchants, all bloodthirsty, to buff our execute damage, which is already mental on this character. And the Harpooner's Wading Kilt we'll be keeping up anyway with our light attacks off of the Merciless Resolve procs, but super important piece of kit. If you haven't got this, put kinras guards on your legs or pBahsei on your legs, something like that, move it all about, and run a monster set instead, such as Veladreth, Stormfist, Nereniath, or something like that, as these can all crit now. Zons can't crit, but it's still also a powerful option. Right, so let's look at our skill setup for the pass dummy. So on the front bar, we've got Barb Trap, our source of minor force, and on the front bar to benefit from fighter skill passives when we're doing our bow procs and our impale. Keep this up as much as you can throughout the fight and make sure it doesn't wear off. Concealed weapon for our spammable. Now, concealed weapon is the easier option to weave, but also equivalent of damage, or possibly even higher as elemental weapon, but that will rely on you getting burning procs instead of concussed and chilled in order to maximise the damage. A bit harder to weave, but still an option. Concealed weapon is my personal favourite on the dummy though, for sure. Merciless Resolve, this is to be kept up at all times, and it's imperative that you hit all your light attacks. As every 5th light attack, you're going to activate this to get our Spectral Bro proc, which is going to do the most damage possible. I said bro instead of bow, but you get the idea. And we'll do big damage. This is always on the front bar, and it will run out, so dynamically in your rotation, make sure you're keeping it up. Impale is our spammable, so you'll start casting this at roughly 23% health of the dummy or your opponent in a fight, and it will become your main spammable. And Debilitate, a powerful dart that you want to keep on your front bar, partly because you'll benefit from the higher stats of it, obviously, and doing more damage. But as well as that, and as well as the Magicka steal it gives you, you'll benefit from the siphoning passive that gives you 8% extra max Magicka on your front bar, obviously boosting the damage of all your attacks. Your ultimate on the front bar is going to be Incapacitating Strike. Activate this every other rotation, and you'll get that giving you your damage boost for 6 seconds to benefit your spammable and really ramp up the damage of your bow proc as well. Some classes you do put other things there, but it doesn't really benefit on this class. Unstable Wall of Fire, bread and butter, keep that down. Structured Entropy, a single target dot that does quite a bit of damage, and a nice heal as well, which is useful in content. Twisting Path, an underrated dot, does a lot of damage and gives you the speed boost as well. Siphoning attacks, helpful for sustain and giving you health back from light attacks. And Dark Shade, a really good dot that you want to keep up. Where it's a dot, it's actually a little dude that fights alongside you. His attacks also cause major maim. Is it minor maim? Major maim? Well, some sort of maim that will do damage. And you're going to put incapacitating strike on your back bar as well. Unless you're in content, when you will put elemental rage instead for things like portals or anywhere that you need to burn down any sort of ad pull or anything like that. So next let's look at the passives. A lot of the damage that the Nightblade actually can do and the utility they bring to the group is down to the passives that they have. So in the assassination skill line, we definitely want Master Assassin for that extra penetration when we are flanking. Super important in content to make sure we help hit the pen cap. Executioner, always nice to help with our sustain when we're killing ads, in boss fights especially, or in ad packs. Pressure points, again, weapon and spell critical for assassination abilities, which we are using in our rotation. So that's just an extra bit of crit on top of the ones we're already getting. And then hemorrhage, increasing our crit damage, helps us get to that crit cap. With this and all the other buffs, if you're a Khajiit, you won't use trap because you will be over the crit cap with it. We're a high elf, we don't really have that problem. The weapon critical that you give the group, isn't really that important. Refreshing Shadows increases your recoveries, super important because there are some quite expensive skills in the Magblade rotation. The Shadow Barrier skill, super helpful to give us spell resistances and physical resistances. Dark Vigor, extra health, always good to make sure you're not big dead. And Dark Veil buffs the duration of our path to make sure that we are keeping those ticks up. Catalyst, when you're drinking potions during your rotation, lets you just drop in caps like the no man's business. The Magicka one we spoke about earlier. Your healing double siphoning abilities will boost the healing that you get from the siphoning spells, which is actually underrated and can keep you up in some hairy situations, such as VCR portals. And then siphoning abilities can generate an ultimate, just means you get to your incaps even quicker. Dual wield, you want Slaughter, dual wield expert. If you can get it, get Ruffian, I've not got enough skill points, and Swim Blade and Blunt is a super important one. All of your Destro staff passives, just to boost those back bar abilities, such as with the penetration and things like that, keeping up your status effects for burning and giving you destruction expert, giving you some sustain. Large armor passives, you all want to have these. They're all really useful, but the major ones are Prodigy and Concentration to buff our pen and our crit chance. Medium armor, you want Dexterity to boost your critical damage and agility as well. Fighter skill passives and major skill passives, you want as many of those as you can get, and obviously all your racial passives as well. I'm a high elf in this instance, but whatever you are, you always want all of those, and obviously medicinal use to keep our potion buffs up as well. So for our rotation, we're going to dump our mag and pre-buff with siphoning spells, Shade, Merciless Resolve, cast our trap, and then start our light weaving with Degeneration. We'll then go Wall, Path, swap to the front bar, incap. We'll then fire our bow proc, debilitate, spammables up until bow proc, fire it again, swap to our back bar and hit degeneration. Second part will be wall, path, swap to your front bar, cast trap, swap to your back bar for shade, back to the front bar, fire your bow, debilitate, spammables until bow proc, fire the bow proc, swap to your back bar, degeneration. That will rinse and repeat until 25%, in which case you will change it up and you'll go wall, path, incap, blast impales until your wall explodes. So normally about 7 or 8. You'll then go wall, path, shade, trap, and blast impales until your wall goes off again. It should always line up where that rotation lines up perfectly. So as it's time to wall, path, you've then got your incap ready. Make sure your Merciless Resolve timer throughout your rotation doesn't drop. Make sure you've still got your bow procs ready. You will have to refresh this throughout the rotation. Hopefully, just after hitting that second bow proc before you go for the trap part of your rotation, so you can quickly just blast it on again and carry on with your rotation. Also, make sure that you try to hit your bow proc while your trap is still up. It might be 0.5 seconds or something like that, but being in very fast enough for your rotation to hit that will give you the maximum damage available. So this was a static rotation pass using the rotation detailed here and all the gear, hitting just over 105k. So not in all content you're able to run your parse setup. So there are some alternative skill setups that we can use depending on the content we're doing. So for example, in Cloud Rest or in Silent Santorum, I wouldn't run daggers because you're not going to get the opportunity to get your light attacks in. There's no point whiffing air and not getting your bow procs. So I'd use the Inferno instead. And anytime I can't guarantee I'm going to be in melee range. In Veteran Cloud Rest Portals, I swap Barbed Trap for Channeled Acceleration. So I've got Mobile Minor Force and the Speed buff. Swallow Soul is my spammable. Really powerful heal. Even at level 2 here, it keeps me up in Cloud Rest Portals when combined with Structured Entropy, also giving you a heal as it ticks. Blast these on your crystals and it will keep you up. As well as Twisting Path, free speed boost to get your crystal to crystal, siphoning attacks for that passive heal and sustain. All really useful for keeping you alive in there. As well as that, obviously as mentioned earlier, I wouldn't use incap for my main back bar ultimate. I'd instead use Destro ult, and in Asylum Sanctorum I changed the skills up as well, so I'm just swapping them around here a second, pressing all the wrong buttons apparently as well, amazing. So on my front bar I'd use Crushing Shock as my spammable if I'm on Interrupts for Lothis. If not, I'd change that to Force Pulse to give me extra cleave. I'd also make sure I've got Dampen Magic on my back bar so that if I get Cone I can shield up, and especially if I get it during Heavens I can keep myself up and alive. Aside from that, you've still got all of your dots. I'd also ideally either run Channeled Acceleration or drop it completely and change kinras to Zovkins or Medusa and put Camo Hunter here in its place for the Berserk passive and to make sure that I've got Minor Force up the whole time. I don't like farming, so I've not got that yet, but that's ideally what I'd do. You could also use Elemental Weapon as your spammable as well for that little bit of extra damage. So you can see in the background here just some rotation work. The non-execute portion of the rotation from pre-buff just through the first couple of cycles, so you can see how it'll all sort of flow together with the bar swaps and things to make sure the kinras stays up and we're still hitting on our light attacks to get our bow procs. This rotation just continues through statically the entire way through up until execute, where obviously as detailed it will change. This is all written down in the description as well, so you can see sort of how the skills flow and how the bars are all set up for ease of use. And that is my Magicka Nightblade build for the Deadlands DLC. A big thank you to Lazarus and Alpha Twin from one of my guilds, Order of the Jedi, for their really awesome work on the thumbnail for this video and for the Stamina Templar video previously as well. If you have any questions about the build, please do feel free to put it in the comments. Message me on Twitch, which is in the description of my YouTube account, or find me in-game and drop me a message. My gamer tag is the same as my name on here, BuckshotPunk. I hope you enjoyed the video, and there'll be more build videos coming up shortly. Best of luck and goodbye.